Hello everyone and welcome to the first Autumn 2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go, it's time to start another season of long range updates. We completed summer updates a couple of weeks ago and released our summer forecast this day last week, last Sunday. So we never stop at GavsWeatherVids. I keep telling you, the long range bandwagon just keeps on rolling. The long range bandwagon goes on, and we've now arrived at autumn updates, and I shall get on with it for you in a moment. I'm going to be looking at May data for this one. Just to say that if you're enjoying the content on the channel at the moment, then please can you like, share and subscribe, and you're going to be able to see future weather updates, including future long range updates, if you do that. I'll tell you what's happening at GavsWeatherVids today. So the first video today was our 6 AM UK weather forecast, and we've got a 10 to 14 day coming up for you later on today as well. Please like, share and subscribe on all of today's videos, and thank you so much to everybody for doing that. Thank you so much to Richard, like your friend Richard Shaw, the incredible autumn updates gift. I think out of all the gifts that we do for the long range, the autumn ones are always my favourite because they always look so vibrant. The colours are always incredible. You know, the oranges, the yellows, the reds, the russets. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Richard, for our lovely seasonal autumn updates gift. There may be a second gift though. A little bit more about that next week, maybe. We might have two gifts on the go this year, but we will be naming all of the animals, of course, in the autumn updates gift over the next few weeks. Thank you so much, Richard. Also, thank you so much to Shryan as well, my good friend Shryan, for sorting out all of the years and whatnot. Thank you so much, Shryan, for that. And, you know, hashtag Team Gav. Thank you so much to hashtag Team Gav, as always. Right, with that said, I think we will get on with your first Autumn 2023 update. Goodness gracious me, who would have thought we would arrive at autumn updates? Only seems like 5 minutes ago since we started with summer updates, doesn't it? Thank you so much, everybody. Right, okay, let's do this then. So we're going to start off with May CT data. So, this is from Hadley. We confirm that May central temperature came in at 12.5, which was 1.4 degrees above the 61 to 1990 average. That means that our range for this set of analogues is going to be looking at autumns following May's, with a CT range of 12.2 to 12.8, which places, of course, May 2023 nicely in the middle of the range. Let's do that then. So the first autumn following May CT of 12.2 to 12.8 is the autumn of 1953. This looks like a quiet autumn with above average heights, high pressure sitting over and to the west of the country, plenty of dry weather with that. I think it's quite a chilly autumn though. That one. We also have another anticyclonic autumn. It's 1959. Again, following May CT range of 12.2 to 12.8. This one, high pressure is further north, centre further north anyway, but reaching into northern and western parts of Europe. Lots of dry anticyclonic weather with that. It's a very warm autumn we have in 1959. Very extended summer. Begins in the spring, goes on into the autumn. I've spoken about this a lot over the years in our long range updates. And September and much of October remain dry and warm. It does break towards the end of October, and then November is a much more changeable month, but still mild, but quite a bit wetter in November of 59. Then we got the autumn of 1960. This one looks very different. This looks like a little bit of a washout autumn, deep low pressure in off the Atlantic into West Europe. There is also a bit of a blocking signal as well, so quite a cool and potentially very wet autumn in 1960. A long gap then, long gap to 1990. The next time we have a May with a CT range of 12.2 to 12.8 is indeed May 1990. So the autumn of 1990 looks like this. It's quite an unsettled and cool autumn eventually. So you get some higher pressure in the Atlantic, lower pressure is to our south and east. Winds often coming in from an easterly direction in this autumn. Has a mild October, but a little bit changeable. September, about average. Often quite unsettled as well. And then November, I think it's a little bit drier, but it's a bit colder as well. We get some early season frosts and whatnot in November of 1990. Overall, probably about average temperature-wise, but a little bit on the cool side, I suppose, for modern day. Then we go through to 2001. So this one with above average heights over to the west of the country. Again, quite a strong anticyclonic signal. A lot of increment variation. So September 2001 is quite a cool month and relatively dry in the west, but more showery in the east. October 2001 is exceptionally warm. It may still be the warmest October on record. Also very wet as well. And then November is a lot cooler and drier with some overnight frost and one or two cold snaps. So again, a lot of increment variation in that autumn. No theme, from beginning to end. Then we've got the autumn of 2006. This one is a very mild autumn, in fact a warm autumn really, with higher pressure centred to our south and east. Lower pressure is out of the Atlantic. Winds often coming up from a southerly or southwesterly direction. Quite unsettled in the north and west, drier in the south and the east. And then we've got the autumn of 2011, which in some ways is very similar, actually, 2000 to 2006 in its pattern. So again, the high pressure is to our south and east, but low pressure is away to the north and west. And again, we draw up those winds from a southwesterly or even southerly direction. So again, quite a lot of dry weather in that autumn, but very warm, especially so in September and also October, I think, of 2011. Just generally a very warm autumn. Could be one of the warmest autumns on record. Another one for 2014 as well. This one again with high pressure to our east. Low pressure is away to the west. This is another warm autumn with lots of southerly and also southwesterly winds to be enjoyed if that's what you like in the autumn. We've got 2006 next. So this one has a very hot September. Generally has high pressure to our north and northeast. The warmest weather of the autumn is in September, and then October we pick up quite a lot of easterly winds, and November also is a relatively dry but cooler type month. It is a dry autumn that we have in 2016. And then the last autumn that follows May City range of 12.2 to 12.8 is the autumn of 2020. Rather bizarre sort of pattern that we tend to get a lot. We see a lot of this these days with just lots and lots of high pressure all over the place, really, and big trough of low pressure over Canada and into Greenland. Autumn 2020. So I think that's quite a mixed September in 2020. Then the rest of the autumn is generally quite changeable. There's a little bit of everything in this autumn. It does have a few cold snaps when we get to November, but it isn't a particularly memorable autumn that we get in 2020. Right, let's put all that together then. So this is how all Septembers combined are looking following a May City range of 12.2, 12.8. We tend to get higher pressure above average heights over the west and the north of Europe. Lots of dry weather with that, often quite warm as well. Cyclonic signal. This is how all Octobers combined look. More unsettled, high pressure sort of retreats in towards Scandinavia and northwestern Russia, but low pressure in the Atlantic is a little bit more buoyant. So it's a more unsettled signal, but also still mild. So we go from dry and warm in September to wet and warm probably a lot of the time in October. And then November, interestingly, goes back towards higher pressure again on average. So the years are deviating with this, but on average, for the set as a whole, we go back to higher pressure again in November. The high pressure over and to the east country, low pressure in the Atlantic again, still drawing up wind from the south. It looks like a warm autumn signal, I have to say, to start us off. And then this is how all autumns combined are looking following a May City range of 12.2 to 12.8. And again, we tend to get the high pressure centre over Scandinavia and out in the Atlantic as well. So often bring up wind from like a warm southerly southeasterly direction. It's a dry and warm signal, anticyclonic signal for these autumns. Obviously, October is a little bit more unsettled with the driest weather tending to be particularly focused on September, but also to some degree in November as well. Generally dry and warm a lot of the time. Right, so that's the first set done, but we are not finished. We have got to look at England and Wales precipitation for May as well. So why don't we do that then? Let's do it. So we go back to Hadley and we can see that for May 2023, the England and Wales precipitation came in at 43.7 millimetres, which is actually driving average 70% of our average rainfall. And so that means that we are now going to be looking at autumns following May's with an England and Wales precipitation range of 36 to 49 millimetres. Again, that places May 2023 very, very nicely in the middle of the range. So let's do that then. Starting in 1957. This is how the autumn of 1957 is looking. Again, following May, England and Wales precipitation of 36 to 49 millimetres. Also an anticyclone similar above average heights, higher pressure centres over just the west of the country. A lot of dry weather with that. It does have quite a wet September, I think, in 1957. And then we transition into a dry pattern, or drier pattern. And it's quite a mild autumn as well in 1957 too. 1960 shows up again. So obviously that's quite an important player for this particular update. This is a very wet autumn, of course. Lots of low pressure in from off the Atlantic. It is combined with a little bit of a blocking signal to the north as well. 1961 is also quite an unsettled autumn with below average heights low pressure through the west of Europe, some higher pressure up towards Scandinavia, though. I think there's a very warm September, though, potentially in 61. Is it 60 or 61? I think it's 61. Has a very warm, dry September, but I could be wrong. It might be 1960. Anyway, overall, looks like quite an unsettled but mild autumn pattern that we get there. Then we've got 1974. This is a very wet autumn. The last wet season before the great drought starts in the winter 74-75. So we get one really wet season for the autumn of 1974, but then the winter of 74-75, that starts moving into the, the 2-year drought for 75 and also 76. That's quite a dry winter we have in 74-75. However, the autumn, though, of 1974 is very, very wet. Has a very wet September, and on and on it goes through much of the autumn as well. Got a very dry autumn here. It's 1978, following May, England Wales precipitation range of 36 to 49 millimetres. This one has lots of low pressure to the north and plenty of high pressure over into the south of the country. This is a warm and dry autumn, exceptionally dry autumn actually, particularly focused on October, but September and November are also very dry months as well. One of the driest autumns on record, I think, in 1978, and often really mild until like the final week or so of November, and then it starts to flip and it begins to get colder, and of course we know what happens after that. Dum, dum, dum. Right, okay, we've got the autumn of 1982. This is a mild and wet autumn showing up next. Lots of low pressure in from off the Atlantic. That's a very mild, wet autumn in 82. We've got 1987, which is another unsettled and often quite wet autumn. Well, September is quite mixed, quite unsettled. October is exceptionally wet, and then November is actually a drier and cooler type month, but the real wet weather in this autumn, of course, is in October, and that's the month where we get the great storm as well. So who can forget the great storm, the infamous Michael Fish hurricane on the night of the 15th to the 16th of October 1987. We've got the autumn of 1995 showing up next. This is a dry and warm autumn following a very hot summer, of course, very, very hot and dry summer. It does have a wet September, though, in 1995. Then we have a warm and dry October, and then we go into a wetter November, but it's also very mild. Low pressure just to the south-southwest does indicate that at times there's some unsettled weather in this autumn, and it's particularly focused on September and again in November to some degree. October in the middle is a very dry month though, and really warm as well. 2001 shows up again. We saw it earlier on. It's back again. So this one, again, a lot of intra-month variation. September, rather cool. Dry in the west, wetter in the east. October, exceptionally warm, possibly record-breakingly warm. And also, I think it has the CT record still, October 2001. And also quite wet at times. And then November is a cooler, drier type month. And then we go through to 2004. And this one, again, lots of intra-month variation, has a very dry and warm September, has a much wetter October, and then November is generally quite mild and nondescript in 2004. Overall, has a big ridge sitting in the Atlantic. And then 2005, following a May, England Wales precipitation range of 36 to 49 millimetres. This one is another really warm autumn. Again, very warm September, CT over 15 degrees in September 2005. October 2005 is really warm as well into early November, very mild, and then it flips in the middle of November, something a lot colder. The second half of November 2005 is actually quite cold and wintry, very cold and wintry, I think, in the second half of November 2005. Overall, it's a warm autumn, often quite unsettled as well, despite the area of above average height sitting over the east country. You can see that the main wind direction tends to, most of the time, be southerly. Then we're on into 2011. That one is back again as well. So we have the above average height sitting to our south and east, but below average heights way to the north and west. Again, this is a really warm autumn from beginning to end, really, with lots of southerly southwesterly winds. And then finally, we've got 2019. This is a colder, wetter autumn with higher pressure up towards Greenland and lower pressure over the north and the west of Europe. Very unsettled autumn in 2019 and often rather on the chilly side. Right, let's put all of that together then. So this is how all Septembers combined are looking, following a May, England, Wales precipitation range. Rainfall, I should just say rainfall, shouldn't I? Following a May rainfall range of 36 to 49 millimetres. Very, very different to the earlier set of all Septembers combined, which is an anticyclonic. This is all low pressure. Look at this, deep below average heights over the country and higher pressure down towards Spain. Indicates on average a lot of these Septembers are going to be dry and warm. There will be years that deviate, remember, are going to be wet, are going to be very wet, I should say. But there will be years that deviate. For example, 1978 was a very dry and warm September, of course. So, as ever, there's always exceptions to the rule, but on average, quite an unsettled signal for those Septembers. All Octobers combined also look unsettled as well, with plenty of low pressure just now over into western country, higher pressure towards the eastern side of Europe. That looks like quite a wet October signal. I mean, a big change in November, quite interestingly, with above average heights returning to the north and west of the country. Around that, we tend to bring in the winds, probably from quite a chilly easterly type direction, so drier and cooler signal maybe by the time we get through to November, after what looks like quite a wet pattern for September and October. All autumns combined, following a May, England Wales precipitation range of 36 to 49 millimetres, look like that. It is an unsettled signal, much more unsettled than the CT range as well. Interestingly, maybe if you have a dry May, I should say, maybe it culminates in a wet autumn a lot of the time. Interesting to ponder, isn't it? But anyway, that's how the data comes out. Right, we are done with your first autumn 2023 update. However, we are, very unusually so, not done with the data. Dun, dun, dun. Because before we go, I just wanted to have a look at the same years for May, CT and England Wales precipitation, but for the summer, because we was not able to bring you any data in terms of May data for the last summer update and within the summer forecast. So out of interest purposes, I thought it would be quite interesting to just have a very quick look at how all of these years would have affected the summer update, the final summer update, if we've been able to do it for May data and summer forecast. So let's do that then. So we're going back to the CT, I think, first of all. So this is how all June combined come out, looking at May CT 12.2, 12.8. So if we'd known where the CT was going to come out at, obviously this would have been the range we'd have looked at. So all Junes, following that May CT range, big anti-cyclonic signal over Scandinavia. Lower pressure tends to be across southern parts of Europe, interestingly, and winds often in from east. So it looks like a relatively warm and dry signal for the Junes, although the low pressure on the continent could provide some thundery rain, thunder perhaps into the south. But overall, looks like it's a Scandinavian high, but it's the dominating factor for those Junes. So getting themselves to a dry and warm start following that May city range for the Junes. The Julys look like this, very different pattern. All Julys combined following May city range of 12.2, 12.8. Suggesting lower pressure through the north and west of Europe, higher pressure pulled out into the Atlantic, possibly the projection going a little bit further south as well. Definitely a more unsettled and cooler signal for the Julys, and that's how all August combined look following Bay City range 12.2, 12.8. Higher pressure tends to form up within the high latitudes, actually. Higher pressure in the high latitudes, lower pressure over to the east of the country. Winds tend to come in from like a northerly, northeasterly direction. Looks rather cool and unsettled signal for the August. So actually, it does suggest like a front-loaded summer here for the May CT range. It does suggest that June has the warmest, driest weather, deterioration, something cooler and a little bit more unsettled in July, and then into quite a cool and unsettled pattern when we get through into August. The overall summer analogue looks like this, with that May CT range tending to have higher pressure to the north and lower pressure to the east and south. Obviously, we know that June tends to favour the Scandinavian high, and then July and August tend to be a little bit more unsettled. As far as England Wales precipitation is concerned, let's just have a quick look at that before we done. So this is how all Junes combined are looking following May England Wales precipitation range of 36 to 49 millimetres. Again, we see more unsettled signal. There's higher pressure in the Atlantic, but lower pressure to our south and east. So that looks a little bit more of an unsettled type signal for the Junes, but July's look really quite grim, I have to say. Following that England Wales precipitation range, high pressure is as a mid-Atlantic ridge, lower pressure across much of northern central Europe, in fact across much of Europe, so just looks a very unsettled pattern for August and for July. And then August, all August combined look like this. Again, high pressure blocking towards Greenland, lower pressure over to the east country, winds often coming in from like a northerly, northeasterly direction, and of course the low pressure could provide quite a bit of unsettled weather. The overall summer analogue for all summers combined following May England Wales precipitation range of 36 to 49 millimetres looks unsettled. High pressure is in the Atlantic and up to the north, and lower pressure is to us, our east, and across much of the continent. Looks relatively cool. And unsettled signal that. So there we go. That's brought you up to date with how the May data would have come out for the final summer update if we'd have been able to include it. The calendar beat us this time, so it's just too far away from the end of May when we did our final update to be able to project either where the CT or the England Wales precipitation was going to come out at. But anyway, brought you a day. Not sure it would have made much difference to the overall summer forecast. It's a generally changeable thing, you know, for the summer. Obviously, the first set, the CT set, does imply a front-loaded summer, though. There wasn't much sign of that in the summer forecast, so that possibly would have given us food for thought, but maybe June could be dry and warmer, and then we get the deterioration through July and August, which is kind of what we've gone for anyway, despite the analogues not really showing it all that convincingly. Anyway, for the first time ever, we've included a little bit of summer data within an autumn update. So there we go, everybody. That is my first autumn. I hope that was a nice surprise. I bet most people wasn't expecting that. So I hope that was a nice surprise. Let me know in the comments what you thought to including that. But I wanted to put that in, you know, just for interest purposes more than anything else. But that's your first autumn 2023 update done and dusted. There will be autumn updates virtually every week from now until the end of August. We will release our autumn forecast at the end of August, of course. I'll give you a date for that in a couple of weeks' time. We'll take 1 week off later on this month when we release our winter 2023-24 NEO forecast. But other than that, we'll be doing autumn updates from now until the end of August. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to our first autumn update and update number 2 next week. Thank you so much to Richard for the incredible autumn updates, dear. Thank you so much, Rich. And thank you so much to Shrine Brim for sorting out all those years as well. Hashtag Team Gav, as ever, working away as one. We're going to be back later on with your 10 to 14 there, which will include all our reg features. Come back for that then. For this first autumn 2023 update, that's all for now, and thanks so much.